Hey everyone, my name is Denis, and I'm going to be talking about bringing Bitcoin to Web3. So Bitcoin was the first major blockchain, right? This is the blockchain that people think about when you say crypto, when you say blockchain, right? That's the most popular coin. That's the most popular asset pretty much everywhere. And it has been popular since the very beginning, pretty much, right? We can see that the dominance hasn't really declined over the years. It still is over 50% by all measurements, right? It's an extremely large blockchain with a mind share that you can't really compare to anything else. With recent advancements in kind of legal side of things, where BTC ETFs getting improved, and many countries, cryptocurrencies, and first of all Bitcoin, of course, become more integrated in the system in the financial system. Its popularity is growing even more, right? And with the upcoming halving. So, I mean, I don't have to tell you guys that Bitcoin is huge, but there are missing opportunities here, right? There are opportunities that haven't been utilized yet. Specifically, that it's not really part of DeFi, right? It's not part of the main narrative. It has been, even though it's the most popular asset, it kind of has been excluded from many of the activities that we're talking about, right? And all the advancements are kind of moving in parallel to Bitcoin. So, for example, right, if you compare the version of assets that can be used in DeFi, it's tiny compared to ETH, even though the market dominance of Bitcoin is overwhelming. And if we look into how this asset WBTC compares to Bitcoin in general, we can see that it's less than 1%. So 99% of Bitcoin is just kind of sitting on chain, doing pretty much nothing in terms of activity, on-chain activity, right? It's being used obviously in centralized environment, but not in applications that we're interested in building, right? Like decentralized applications. With ZetaChain, we think we have potential to unlock the power of BTC and connect it to the applications that are deployed on other blockchains and make it actually much more useful. So ZetaChain is the first simple, fast, and secure omni-chain blockchain, and I'm gonna explain what I mean by this. Why build on ZetaChain? Well, first of all, it offers unique chain abstraction capabilities that are that make any asset, doesn't matter if it's smart contract capable or not, useful in DeFi environment and pretty much any programmable environment. And it's also much more secure than many other solutions that are attempting to do this. So what is ZetaChain? It's a sovereign L1 blockchain that provides a platform for developers to build omni-chain applications. It also offers cross-chain messaging between EVM chains. So with cross-chain messaging, it's super easy to send arbitrary data between contracts deployed on different chains. We've seen kind of projects implementing this, and it's very useful, but it has some limitations, right? Like even on this slide, you can see that you can't really do that with Bitcoin. So the most popular asset is getting left out, and cross-chain messaging is the most popular solution for interoperability between specifically VM chains, but we're excluding the most popular asset. So we think it's cross-chain messaging is kind of missing the point. We think it's a good solution, but it's not as scalable and not as streamlined from developer experience point of view. That's why we're offering omni-chain contracts. So with omni-chain contracts, you can connect any blockchain and any asset on any blockchain. And the way it works is, as a developer, you deploy a contract on ZetaChain. It's EVM compatible, so it's the familiar developer environment that you're already used to on other blockchains. But what's different about it is that your contract by default becomes interoperable with any blockchain. So what this means is you deploy a single contract on ZetaChain, and any user of Bitcoin, Ethereum, BSC can call your contract and deposit tokens into it. And your contract can generate one or more outputs to any connected blockchain. So this means that when you deploy to a non-interoperable blockchain that is also EVM compatible, you get only users from that specific chain, which might be okay, but as more and more chains become popular, you can't deploy your app on every chain and synchronize the state with cross-chain messaging. It just becomes unmanageable, and from the architectural point of view, it becomes very complex very quickly. With omni-chain contracts, the architecture is completely different. It's just a single contract that's just by default is interoperable. The way it works is fully decentralized. So being a proof of stake L1, ZetaChain has validators, and it actually has two types of validators: core validators secure the network, and they run Comet BFT consensus, which has instant finality and a bunch of other very useful features. But we also have observer validators who do much more than that. So they run ZetaChain nodes, but they also run nodes of connected blockchains. And they observe these blockchains, and when they see incoming transactions, they vote on these transactions on ZetaChain, and it's all very transparent. It happens on chain. And when the vote is complete, tokens are minted. So when a user, for example, deposits BTC onto ZetaChain, observer validators notice this transaction, they vote on it, and as a result, the protocol mints wrapped Bitcoin. But wrapped Bitcoin is not the end of the story, right? It's just kind of the beginning. The advantage of ZetaChain as a platform is that this wrapped token automatically gets deposited into the contract that you want. So, for example, you can easily build a swap contract where native BTC gets deposited, swap for another token, for example, USDC, and USDC gets withdrawn to the destination token. So for many applications, like cross-chain swaps, users never actually have to deal with wrapped assets. Wrapped assets only act as accounting mechanism for the contract. At the end, what end users get is very seamless transition of value between blockchains without needing to explicitly wrap assets or deal with putting these assets into contracts. So let me give you a quick example of why this is super important for Bitcoin users, for example. So let's say there's a Bitcoin user that doesn't really, they're not really interested in other chains. They truly believe in Bitcoin. They have a Bitcoin wallet, right? But at the same time, they want to make sure that kind of they're utilizing their BTC, right? So it's not just sitting in their wallets, and they don't want to use centralized exchanges or services because They believe in self-custody. So what they can do with ZetaChain is deposit their BTC by sending a native Bitcoin transaction in their favorite wallet without having to sign up for any other account or knowing about gas token or even knowing about ZetaChain, right? They use their favorite wallet, they send a native transaction, BTC gets deposited into what we call TSS address. And it's not a contract, it's a regular address that is owned by observer validators of ZetaChain. So BTC gets locked in this TSS address, and observer signers vote on this deposit to make sure that they all agree that they have consensus on that BTC gets deposited. And in this transaction, in this BTC transaction, a user, well, hopefully not the user, but the dApp that they're using provides information about which contract they want to deposit BTC to, which contract on ZetaChain. And they can also provide additional information in the memo. So this information gets passed to the Omnichain contract that you as a developer build, and you can use pretty much all the power of EVM and all the dApps deployed on ZetaChain to potentially swap this BTC into another asset or mint NFTs or what have you, right? You can do anything you want with this asset, including swapping and withdrawing or, so it's very, very flexible. We don't impose any limitation on you as a developer. We just provide the infrastructure, kind of the decentralized mechanism for users of any blockchain to deposit and withdraw assets and call Omnichain contracts permissionlessly. So this mechanism is extremely powerful, and we think it's going to unlock a lot of interesting possibilities, specifically for assets and chains that don't support smart contracts. But of course, we're not limited to that. So as I mentioned, ZetaChain is fully EVM compatible. It's built on top of Cosmos SDK and uses an EVM module. So all the applications that run on other EVM compatible chains can be just easily deployed on ZetaChain. And even if you don't modify them, by default, they're already interoperable because the token format that ZetaChain uses for deposited assets is ERC20 compatible. So even if you don't modify your contract, you just deploy it on ZetaChain, users can already deposit tokens and use them in your applications. But to improve the experience, you can modify your application or create a contract that kind of wraps this functionality and allow users to deposit with a single transaction as I described earlier, right? So you can choose the level of integration you want, but of course, you probably, as developers, you probably want to provide the best experience for end users. And the best experience is that a user just sends a native token transfer on any connected chain, signs just one transaction, it triggers a sequence of actions, sequence of contract calls, potentially with outputs to other blockchains. So this is really powerful. We provide all the tooling for you to create these contracts, to query balances, to deposit, withdraw tokens, also to track cross-chain transactions, to make transition from a single chain to Omnichain much easier. You would really be surprised how easy it is to actually go through tutorials. It might take you just like 15 minutes to complete a tutorial and maybe like an hour to complete the most advanced one we have. So the layer, the API that we created is basically just one function that you have to implement. So it's really easy to augment your existing applications to become Omnichain compatible. And again, what you get from this is all users of all the connected chains can now easily use your application. So ZetaChain was launched a few months ago now, and we're seeing incredible growth with millions of transactions, hundreds of dApps deployed, millions of users. So it's growing incredibly, and we've seen AAA players like SushiSwap deploy their applications on ZetaChain mainnet beta that is compatible with the Omnichain tokens. So when you build your application, you can actually use liquidity pools that SushiSwap provides to make sure that you have the liquidity you need in your applications. We also have smaller projects that are ZetaChain native, right? They're built from the grounds up to leverage the Omnichain functionality, and they also provide an exceptional experience for users. For example, Eddy Finance to swap assets like BTC into any other supported asset, which is pretty cool. And we really encourage developers to build applications from the grounds up that take advantage of this unique functionality that we offer. We're also seeing players like Curve Finance deploying their application, and we actually had Curve as one of the examples of how easy it is to just take an existing application, deploy it on ZetaChain with no changes required. But the official Curve app is coming to ZetaChain. What can you build on ZetaChain? Well, first of all, you can of course build anything you can build on EVM, but that's a subset, right? What you really can do is create applications that use native assets like BTC, ETH, USDC, USDT from connected chains as collateral in DeFi applications. You can build intent-centric apps. You can build super aggregators because your app is not limited to one chain, so you can aggregate liquidity and data, effectively tokens from all the chains, and connect kind of super connected applications. Of course, it's going to be very useful for gaming applications that want to accept payments, for example, in different tokens, right? They don't have to worry about bridges. It all goes through a single decentralized interface, which allows them to really easily build kind of apps that accept any token. So yeah, the opportunities really are endless here, and as developers, you get full support from all the applications you might need, from dexes to price oracles to account abstraction solutions, wallet as a service, you name it. So not only does the environment very familiar to you as a developer, right? It's the same EVM, same language. You also get the services that you are used to on other chains. So the transition becomes very seamless. So ZetaChain's community has been growing rapidly from even before the testnet was launched, and we've got millions of users, and they're very active. We have communities in most languages in most countries with an ambassador system. So if you go to ZetaChain's Discord, you'll find people from all over the world building and using applications. We have an official interface that kind of showcases the best the platform can offer, called Zeta Hub. You can check it out. Of course, it's live on mainnet, and we also encourage third-party applications, obviously, to build interfaces that leverage the unique omni-chain aspects of ZetaChain. So last thing I want to mention is that we truly believe that the multi-chain future is is basically now. It's not the future anymore, it's present. As developers, you really need to think about all these blockchains, all the users, all these the apps deployed on different chains, and like how do you prepare your application for the next generation of users, the next generation of chains. With ZetaChain, it becomes so much easier because one of the things that I didn't mention is when you deploy your dApp on ZetaChain, you automatically get connected to all the supported chains, and that's cool. But what's even cooler is that your application automatically is compatible with the chains that will be added later on because the API is the same. So that's something that you can't really get with any other interoperability solution, where you deploy a contract and not only is it kind of backwards compatible, it's compatible with the features that will be added to the platform later and the chains that will be added later. So this is super exciting, and I think it doesn't matter on which level of integration you're ready to which level of integration you're ready. You can deploy your app as is, or you can build it from the grounds up, or you can take your existing app, augment it with an omni-chain kind of contract wrapper, and provide the best experience for your users. We have a grants program, so for all you builders out there, we have a system to incentivize builders and ensure that they have all they need to build omni-chain applications. Thank you.